We all know that a very important part of 3D animation is motion capture. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, when it came out, it freaked out 3D animators and 3D artists in general because they thought it would replace them. But at the end of the day, it really didn't. In fact, it made 3D animation as a field much better. But can we say the same thing in the age of AI? Because if you think about it, we are living through it as we speak. Anyways, first, let's take a look at the origins of motion capture from the early days till modern day mocap, and see why motion capture couldn't kill keyframe animation. Motion capture really started becoming recognizable in the 1960s, and honestly the early systems looked more like strange science experiments than VFX or game development technology. Back then, mocap wasn't even being built for movies first. It was mainly for military research, medicine, biomechanics, and robotics. Researchers wanted to study how humans moved, how pilots reacted in cockpits, and how athletes walked and ran. Computers were huge, expensive machines at the time, so even recording simple movement data was considered advanced technology. And one of the earliest big breakthroughs came from animator and inventor Lee Harrison III in the late 60s. He created systems called Animac and SCULPTIng, where the performers wore wired data suits connected to analog computers. The suits used sensors and potentiometers attached to joints to track movements. The results looked extremely primitive by modern standards, kinda like glowing stick figures or robotic silhouettes. But for the first time, human movement could be translated directly into a computer animation in real time, and that was a massive deal back then. Then in the late 1970s, universities and research labs started developing more serious motion tracking systems. A lot of this work happened in biomechanics research, where scientists studied walking, postures, sports movements, and rehabilitation. Early mocap systems used magnetic trackers, mechanical rigs, LEDs, and reflective markers attached to the body. Some systems were optional, meaning cameras tracked lights or reflective dots on the actor. Others were magnetic, where sensors detected movement inside electromagnetic fields. The actors often had cables running all over their bodies, so recording motion looked incredibly awkward compared to the wireless suits we have now. One very important moment happened in 1969, when engineers who later became Polhemus, a motion tracking company that developed one of the first electromagnetic tracking systems. It was originally designed for military purposes, especially tracking pilot head movements. But the technology ended up influencing later motion capture systems because it could record movements in 3D space using sensors. And this was one of the first times mocap started becoming something closer to what we can recognize today. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, computer graphics themselves were evolving really fast, and motion capture started becoming useful for animation experiments. And the thing is, researchers realized that animating realistic human motion by hand was incredibly difficult and time-consuming, especially back then. So instead of moving every frame manually, they could record movement data from real people and apply it to digital characters. And early optical systems were still clunky though, because actors often performed almost blind, since the animation data had to be processed later instead of being showed live on a monitor, like the modern systems do. Modern motion capture really started taking off in the early 90s, when computers finally became powerful enough to handle human movement data in a practical way. So studios realized if they could record real actors moving, they could create animations that felt much more natural and realistic. Early mocap setups were honestly kind of funny looking, because actors wore tight suits covered in reflective markers or sensors, while giant cameras tracked every movement in special rooms. But even though the tech looked awkward, people immediately saw the potential. Video games were actually some of the first entertainment industries to seriously embrace mocap. In the early 90s, fighting games and sport games desperately wanted more realistic movement because the players were getting tired of stiff animations. Games like Virtua Fighter 2 and later Mortal Kombat used motion capture to record martial artists and actors performing different moves, which made the gameplay feel way more lifelike compared to older games. Around the same time, Prince of Persia became famous for using filmed human movements as reference for animation, which gave the character realistic fluidity, which looked revolutionary back then. Hollywood started experimenting with mocap during the 90s too, mostly for visual effects and digital crowds at first. One early example was the Titanic in 1997, where motion capture helped animate digital background characters. Then Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which became a huge turning point in 1999, because Jar Jar Binks was one of the first major CG characters driven by motion capture performance, and suddenly studios realized actors could play digital characters instead of animators doing everything manually from scratch. But the moment that really changed public perception was The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers in 2002. Andy Serkis's performance as Gollum showed people that motion capture wasn't just a technical trick anymore. It could capture actual acting, emotions, personality, and body language. And the crazy part was that the system could stream this performance onto a digital character in near real time, which felt almost magical back then. After Gollum, the industry exploded into performance capture, where facial expressions, finger movements, and voice acting all became part of the same process. At this point, many thought studios would just record actors and completely replace traditional animation jobs, because it felt like computers were starting to automate the craft they spent years learning. But over time, the industry realized that mocap wasn't a magic replacement at all, because raw mocap data usually looked messy, stiff, or unrealistic without animators cleaning it up. Also exaggerating poses, fixing timing, and adding personality. Even huge mocap-heavy movies like The Polar Express and Beowulf showed that realistic movement alone didn't automatically create believable characters. Eventually, most animators stopped seeing mocap as the death of animation and started treating it more like another tool in the pipeline, which is the case today. Then things went to the next level. Games started evolving beyond just body movement. By the late 2000s and early 2010s, studios like Naughty Dog and Rockstar Games were using for performance capture for emotional storytelling in games like The Last of Us and Red Dead Redemption 2. Instead of recording only punches or running animations, actors performed entire scenes together like a real movie set. That's why modern AAA games feel so cinematic now, because the characters are often literally acted out first before being turned into digital performances. So after a decade or two, a lot of 3D artists and animators slowly stopped seeing mocap as a threat once they actually worked with it, and realized how messy raw motion capture data really was. Studios discovered that mocap by itself often looked awkward, floaty, or too realistic, in a bad way I mean, especially for stylized animation, action scenes, or emotional performances. So animators still had to clean up the motion, exaggerate poses, fix timing, add facial acting, and sometimes completely redo parts manually. Over time, people noticed something important. The best mocap scenes were usually the ones where animators heavily shaped the performance afterward, not the ones that use raw data. That's why games and films don't suddenly stop hiring animators after mocap became mainstream. In many cases, they hired even more specialists. Eventually, most artists accepted that mocap was more like a power tool than a replacement for creativity, kind of similar to how many artists today are starting to see AI, useful for speeding up workflows, but still needing human taste, direction, and artistic judgment to actually make something look good. One interesting lesson from motion capture is that new technology in creative industries usually changes jobs more than it completely destroys them, even though it may have an impact, to be honest, when it comes to jobs. But even after 30 years of being actively used in the industry, 3D animators still have their jobs. Till this date, movies and games with heavy mocap still rely on huge animation departments, and hopefully the same conversation is gonna take place with AI, because a lot of 3D artists feel the same fear animators felt during the mocap era, especially because AI can already automate some repetitive tasks, generate drafts, or speed up some workflows. But the big thing the industry keeps running into is that creative work is not just about generating movement or images. It is about control, storytelling, solving problems, and making artistic decisions. Even people working in animation and VFX often describe AI as more like a tool that can change the pipeline, but it is not magic that can replace artists overnight. In a weird way, mocap showed that realism alone was never enough. you still need artists to make things actually feel believable and fun to play or watch. And there you have it, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe to this channel to receive more videos like this. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.